In the heart of New York City, the bustling streets of Manhattan masked a dark secret. Elise Harper, an investigative journalist known for her fearless reporting, had vanished without a trace. Elise had been working on a high-profile story involving a shadowy crime syndicate known as the Shadow Network, which had long eluded the grasp of law enforcement. Her disappearance was sudden and mysterious, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and mounting concern. Elise's editor, Jack Reynolds, was deeply worried. As her close colleague and friend, he knew that her latest investigation had put her in grave danger. Elise had been following a lead on a series of unsolved disappearances linked to the Shadow Network, a criminal organization rumored to have connections with some of New York City's most powerful and influential figures. Her research had led her into the underbelly of the city's elite, exposing a network of corruption and deceit that extended far beyond what anyone had imagined. Jack, desperate to find any clue that might lead him to Elise, sifted through her belongings. He found her notes, filled with cryptic references and unsettling information about the Shadow Network. Among the notes was a list of names, addresses, and coded messages that hinted at a vast and dangerous conspiracy. Jack realized that Elise had been close to uncovering something monumental, something that someone would go to great lengths to keep hidden. Detective Sarah Mitchell, a seasoned officer with the NYPD, was assigned to the case. Known for her expertise in solving cold cases and her relentless pursuit of justice, Sarah was determined to crack the mystery behind Elise's disappearance. She met with Jack to review the evidence. Jack briefed her on Elise's investigation, detailing the journalist's progress and the dangerous threats she had received. As Sarah delved into the case, she began to piece together Elise's last known movements. The detective learned that Elise had been frequenting certain locations tied to the Shadow Network, underground clubs, illicit gambling dens, and secretive meetings. The more Sarah investigated, the clearer it became that Elise had stumbled upon something significant that had put her life at risk. The disappearance of Elise Harper was more than just a missing persons case, it was a matter of uncovering a hidden criminal empire. The Shadow Network's reach extended into the city's highest echelons, making the investigation not only challenging, but also perilous. Sarah and Jack knew that finding Elise would require them to navigate a treacherous landscape of deception and danger. As days turned into weeks, the search for Elise intensified. Jack and Sarah worked tirelessly, following every lead and interviewing anyone who might have had contact with Elise. The case garnered media attention, and the public's concern grew as the days passed without any sign of the missing journalist. Jack was haunted by the fear that Elise might never be found. He knew that time was running out, and the longer it took to find her, the more dangerous it became. The Shadow Network was known for its ruthlessness, and Jack was acutely aware that Elise's life was in grave danger. Despite the mounting pressure, Sarah remained determined. She was a seasoned investigator with a keen sense of justice, and she was not about to let this case go cold. The clues Elise had left behind were fragmented, but Sarah was resolute in her mission to find the missing journalist and bring those responsible for her disappearance to justice. The search for Elise Harper was not just a battle against a criminal organization, it was a fight to unravel the darkest corners of New York City's underworld. Jack and Sarah knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were committed to uncovering the truth and ensuring that justice would be served. As the investigation progressed, both Jack and Sarah found themselves drawn deeper into the shadows of Manhattan. The city's vibrant facade concealed a dark reality that few had ever glimpsed, and Elise's disappearance was just the beginning of a harrowing journey that would test their resolve and courage. The story of Elise Harper's disappearance was far from over. The search for her had only just begun, and the truth behind her vanishing would reveal the dark and dangerous world of the Shadow Network, a world that would challenge everything they thought they knew about justice and corruption in New York City. Jack Reynolds and Detective Sarah Mitchell were determined to find Elise Harper and bring her home safely. They knew that to do so, they needed to understand the extent of the Shadow Network's operations and unravel the mystery surrounding Elise's disappearance. Their first step was to dive deeper into Elise's notes and recordings, hoping to find any clues that might lead them to her. Elise's notes were a tangled web of information. They included names of potential suspects, addresses of known locations associated with the Shadow Network, and references to a figure known only as the Phantom. The Phantom was rumored to be the mastermind behind the network's operations, a ghostly figure who operated in the shadows and was said to be nearly untouchable. Jack and Sarah began their investigation by tracing Elise's steps to the underground clubs and gambling dens she had frequented. These places were known for their seedy atmosphere and connections to illicit activities. As they visited these locations, they encountered a variety of individuals, some cooperative, others evasive or downright hostile. The deeper they went, the clearer it became that the Shadow Network's influence extended far beyond what they had initially suspected. At an upscale nightclub frequented by the city's elite, Jack and Sarah spoke with the club's manager, a man named Tony Romano. Tony was well connected and had a reputation for knowing everyone in the city's underground scene. Although initially wary of the detectives, Tony eventually revealed that he had seen Elise in the club on several occasions. According to him, she had been meeting with a man known as Victor, who was rumored to have connections with the Shadow Network. Victor was a known figure in the city's criminal underworld. He was involved in various illegal activities and was believed to be a key player in the Shadow Network. Jack and Sarah decided to track him down and question him about Elise's disappearance. They managed to locate him at a luxury apartment in the Lower East Side, where he was known to reside. When they arrived at Victor's apartment, they found it surprisingly well guarded. It was clear that Victor was a man who took his security seriously. Jack and Sarah decided to approach him carefully. They posed as potential clients looking to engage in a business deal, hoping to get close enough to gather information. Their plan worked, and they were able to meet with Victor. During the meeting, Victor was charming and elusive. He denied any involvement with Elise's disappearance and seemed genuinely surprised by the inquiry. However, Jack and Sarah noticed that he was unusually nervous and avoided eye contact when questioned about recent events. Despite his denials, they were convinced that Victor knew more than he was letting on. The encounter with Victor provided some valuable insights. It became evident that Elise's investigation had touched a nerve within the Shadow Network. Victor's reaction suggested that the network was on high alert and that Elise had uncovered something significant. Jack and Sarah decided to continue their search for additional leads, focusing on the clues Elise had left behind. As their investigation progressed, they stumbled upon a series of coded messages in Elise's notes. The messages appeared to be a complex cipher, possibly indicating locations or meetings related to the Shadow Network. Jack and Sarah enlisted the help of a cryptographer to decode the messages. The deciphered information revealed a pattern of meetings and transactions that pointed to a larger operation involving human trafficking and money laundering. The breakthrough was significant, but it also made their task even more dangerous. The Shadow Network was known for its ruthless tactics, and the more Jack and Sarah uncovered, the more they realized the extent of the threat they were facing. They had to navigate a treacherous landscape of deception, corruption, and violence. Despite the danger, Jack and Sarah were undeterred. They continued to follow the leads, visiting locations mentioned in the decoded messages and interviewing individuals who might have information about the Shadow Network. Each step brought them closer to uncovering the truth, but it also exposed them to greater risks. The search for Elise Harper had become a high-stakes battle against a powerful criminal organization. Jack and Sarah were determined to find her and bring those responsible to justice, no matter the cost. The city's vibrant exterior masked a dark and dangerous reality, and the deeper they delved, the more they realized that Elise's disappearance was only the tip of the iceberg. As they worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery, Jack and Sarah knew that time was running out. The Shadow Network was a formidable adversary, and the clock was ticking. They had to act quickly to find Elise before it was too late and to dismantle the criminal empire that had plunged New York City into darkness. The investigation into Elise Harper's disappearance was gaining momentum, and Jack Reynolds and Detective Sarah Mitchell were closing in on the Shadow Network. The deciphered messages from Elise's notes had led them to a series of disturbing revelations about the syndicate's operations. The network was involved in a range of criminal activities, from human trafficking to elaborate money laundering schemes. The deeper they dug, the more complex and sinister the conspiracy appeared. One of the key leads was a derelict warehouse in Brooklyn, which had been mentioned multiple times in the decoded messages. Jack and Sarah decided to investigate this location, believing it might be a central hub for the Shadow Network's activities. Upon arriving, they found the warehouse to be a nondescript building, blending in with the surrounding industrial area. However, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. The warehouse was vast, filled with towering shelves and stacks of crates. The interior was dimly lit, with only the occasional beam of sunlight piercing through the grime-covered windows. As Jack and Sarah explored the warehouse, they discovered a hidden door behind a stack of crates. With a sense of anticipation and trepidation, they forced the door open. Inside, they found a small, secret room that appeared to be a control center for the Shadow Network. The room was equipped with surveillance equipment, computers, and piles of documents. It was clear that this was where the syndicate conducted its most covert operations. Among the documents were detailed records of transactions, lists of contacts, and photographs of various individuals, including Elise Harper. The evidence in the room was damning. It revealed the Shadow Network's extensive operations, including their involvement in human trafficking rings and their connections with corrupt officials. The documents also included surveillance footage of Elise, indicating that she had been closely monitored by the syndicate. As Jack and Sarah reviewed the footage and documents, they realized that Elise had been on the verge of exposing the network's entire operation. Her investigation had evidently struck a nerve, leading to her abduction. The room also contained a file marked with Elise's name, suggesting that she had been identified as a significant threat to the syndicate's operations. The discovery of the hidden room was a breakthrough, but it also raised new concerns. The Shadow Network's reach was far greater than they had imagined, and the evidence indicated that Elise's disappearance was part of a larger, more dangerous plan. Jack and Sarah knew they had to act quickly to prevent further atrocities and to rescue Elise. With this new evidence, Jack and Sarah sought assistance from law enforcement. They shared their findings with their superiors and coordinated with federal agencies to launch a more extensive investigation into the Shadow Network. The information they had uncovered was crucial in building a case against the syndicate and its members. As the investigation progressed, Jack and Sarah began to receive threats. The Shadow Network was aware of their efforts and was intent on silencing them. The threats were direct and intimidating, warning them to back off or face dire consequences. Despite the danger, Jack and Sarah remained resolute in their mission. They continued to follow the leads, using the information from the hidden room to track down key members of the Shadow Network. Their efforts led them to various locations, including high-end properties and secret meeting spots. Each discovery brought them closer to unraveling the full extent of the network's operations. The investigation revealed that the Shadow Network had managed to infiltrate multiple facets of society, including law enforcement and government. The network's influence extended far beyond what Jack and Sarah had initially believed, making their quest to bring down the syndicate even more challenging. As they closed in on the network's leaders, Jack and Sarah faced increasing resistance. The Shadow Network was determined to protect its operations and eliminate anyone who posed a threat. The danger grew with every step they took, but their commitment to finding Elise and dismantling the network drove them forward. The conspiracy they were uncovering was vast and intricate, but Jack and Sarah were determined to see it through. They knew that bringing down the Shadow Network would require not only bravery and persistence, but also the support of a coordinated effort between law enforcement agencies and the public. The truth about Elise Harper's disappearance was becoming clearer, but the path to justice was fraught with obstacles. As Jack and Sarah pressed on, they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The shadows of Manhattan were deep and dangerous, but they were determined to shine a light on the darkness and bring the perpetrators to justice. With their investigation reaching its climax, Jack Reynolds and Detective Sarah Mitchell were closing in on the heart of the Shadow Network. Their relentless pursuit had led them to a high-profile businessman, Michael Sterling, who was believed to be a key figure in the syndicate. Sterling owned a luxurious penthouse overlooking Central Park, a symbol of his immense wealth and influence. The penthouse was rumored to be the nerve center for the network's operations, and Jack and Sarah suspected that it might hold the key to finding Elise Harper. The stakes were high. With every piece of evidence they gathered, it became clear that the Shadow Network was not only involved in criminal activities, but was also deeply embedded in the city's power structure. Michael Sterling, with his vast resources and connections, was thought to be a crucial link in the chain. Jack and Sarah knew that confronting him would be risky, but they were prepared to take the gamble in order to rescue Elise. Under the cover of night, Jack and Sarah approached Sterling's penthouse. They had a warrant, but the security surrounding the building was formidable. High-tech surveillance systems, guards, and an elaborate security protocol made their task extremely challenging. Despite the obstacles, they managed to gain entry by using a combination of stealth and strategy. Inside the penthouse, the atmosphere was opulent but unsettling. The lavish decor and luxurious furnishings contrasted sharply with the dark undertones of the investigation. The penthouse was equipped with sophisticated security measures, including a private security team. Jack and Sarah had to navigate a maze of rooms and corridors, avoiding detection as they made their way to the central office. When they finally reached the office, they discovered it was more than just a command center. It was a control hub for the Shadow Network's operations. The room was filled with monitors, computers, and documents detailing the network's activities. It became apparent that Sterling was not only a financier but also an active participant in the syndicate's operations. Jack and Sarah were in the process of gathering evidence when they heard footsteps approaching. They quickly hid, holding their breath as Sterling entered the office. He was accompanied by his aide, a man who Jack and Sarah recognized as the Phantom from their previous investigations. The Phantom was a shadowy figure known for his ability to remain elusive and untouchable. The conversation between Sterling and the Phantom revealed crucial information. They discussed the network's recent activities, including the abduction of Elise Harper. Sterling was clearly agitated, expressing frustration about the increased scrutiny and the risk of exposure. The Phantom reassured him that they had already taken measures to ensure Elise's silence and that she was securely held in a location known only to a select few. Jack and Sarah listened in, taking detailed notes and recording the conversation. The information was invaluable, providing them with the final piece of the puzzle. They now knew that Elise was being held in a hidden facility located outside the city, a place used for the network's most secretive operations. Realizing that time was of the essence, Jack and Sarah prepared to leave the penthouse. They had to act quickly to rescue Elise and bring the Shadow Network to justice. However, their departure was not without complications. As they made their way out, they encountered members of Sterling's security team, who had been alerted to their presence. A tense confrontation ensued. Jack and Sarah had to use their wits and training to evade the guards and escape the penthouse. The chase was intense, but their determination and quick thinking helped them stay ahead of their pursuers. They managed to reach a safe location and contacted law enforcement for backup. With the location of Elise's detention facility now known, Jack and Sarah coordinated a raid with the authorities. The operation was meticulously planned, involving a team of specialized officers and tactical support. The goal was to rescue Elise and dismantle the Shadow Network once and for all. The raid on the hidden facility was a high-stakes operation. As Jack and Sarah approached the location, they encountered heavy resistance from the network's operatives. The facility was fortified and guarded, making the mission perilous. Despite the risks, Jack and Sarah pressed forward, driven by their commitment to rescuing Elise. Inside the facility, they found Elise in a state of distress but alive. She had been held in a secure room, but her spirit remained strong. Jack and Sarah's arrival was met with fierce resistance from the network's guards, but they fought bravely, determined to bring Elise to safety. The confrontation reached its climax as Jack and Sarah battled their way through the facility, confronting members of the Shadow Network and uncovering evidence of their criminal activities. The operation was successful, and Elise was rescued. The authorities apprehended key members of the network, including Michael Sterling and the Phantom. The rescue of Elise Harper marked a significant victory in the fight against the Shadow Network. The operation had exposed the network's intricate web of corruption and criminal activity, leading to a major crackdown on their operations. The city of New York was left to grapple with the revelations of the network's reach and the impact of their activities on the community. Jack and Sarah's bravery and perseverance had brought justice to Elise and helped dismantle one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the city. The final confrontation was a testament to their dedication and the power of unwavering commitment in the face of formidable challenges. With Elise Harper safely rescued and the shadow network dismantled, the aftermath of the operation began to unfold. The city of New York was abuzz with news of the crackdown on one of the most elusive criminal organizations in its history. Jack Reynolds and Detective Sarah Mitchell were hailed as heroes for their relentless pursuit of justice and their role in bringing the shadow network to its knees. Elise, though shaken by her ordeal, was grateful for the rescue and eager to return to her work. She was a key witness in the trials against the members of the shadow network, and her testimony was instrumental in securing convictions. Her bravery in the face of danger was widely recognized, and she became a symbol of resilience and courage. For Jack and Sarah, the resolution of the case brought a sense of closure, but it also left them reflecting on the dark underbelly of the city they had uncovered. The investigation had revealed the extent to which corruption and criminality could infiltrate the highest echelons of society. It served as a stark reminder of the ongoing need for vigilance and integrity in the fight against organized crime. The shadow network's downfall prompted a series of reforms and increased scrutiny of the connections between criminal organizations and influential figures. The city's law enforcement and judicial systems underwent significant changes to address the vulnerabilities exposed by the investigation. New measures were implemented to strengthen oversight and prevent similar organizations from gaining such a foothold in the future. As life began to return to normal, Jack and Sarah continued their work with a renewed sense of purpose. The case had tested their resolve and highlighted the importance of their roles in upholding justice. Elise resumed her journalism career with a focus on investigative reporting, determined to expose the truth and advocate for those who could not speak for themselves. The story of Elise Harper's disappearance and the subsequent dismantling of the shadow network became a powerful reminder of the impact that one determined individual could make in the face of immense adversity. It also reinforced the idea that even in the darkest corners of society, there are those who are willing to stand up and fight for what is right. As New York City moved forward, the legacy of the investigation lived on. The bravery of those involved, the lessons learned, and the changes implemented continued to shape the city's approach to combating crime and corruption. The shadows that had once loomed over Manhattan were now illuminated by the efforts of those who had dared to confront them, ensuring a brighter and more just future for all.